I pledge allegiance Thank you. And real quick, Zach, the only thing you missed was at your, there, thank you, George, was a form. It's anonymous at this point during the meeting, or at some point if you want to just blast through and respond to that, I can get it tonight. Just going to try and build some ideas and see what else people might like to do, think, say, or feel. All right. Let's have a roll call to establish attendance and quorum. Starting on that side. Ellen? Here. Zach?
Here.
Introducing George.
Here.
All right. Colin?
Here.
Elizabeth? Here. Nice. Emma? Thank you. And public comment. All right. Seeing no public comment, let's approve. Do we have meeting minutes from June 12th? Right, I can't open it, but anyway, meetings from June, any edits, additions, changes, comments?
Make a motion to approve as written.
Do I have a second to approve the minutes as written? Thank you. All right. That was from Colin. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
That's unanimous, are you abstaining?
Abstaining.
Okay. And for clarification, it's okay to abstain, but it's also okay to say, oh, I read them, and if that's what the group wants to do, you can approve it even if you want to hear. It's not necessarily what all groups do, but it's allowed.
Point of order, Chair. I think you can appoint two of the new alternates as full members tonight, or at least one of them.
Oh, in fact,
Julie's not here.
Julie's not here.
Who else is not? Anybody else?
The other Jess.
And she's a full member, so you can appoint both as alternates,
I can appoint
or
her.
as full members.
So George, you would be tonight appointed as a full voting member. And thank you, Ellen, for things that we're going to do and we talked about. Even as alternate, you still talk, tonight voting count for you, as well as Elizabeth Dudley. You're an alternate, so be prepared to stand up and make your vote counted. And all alternates are always invited to talk and add input. It's a matter of, do we need a vote tonight, you and George, as alternates, and now we'll elect the full members to vote. Thank you. Thanks again, Ellen. All right. Interest forms done. We'll start with Lindsay Butler, our town engineer.
Good evening. Lindsay Butler, Town Engineer. I am here to talk informatively about some drainage replacement work that's coming up on Packers Falls Road. You should all have in your packet a brief project narrative and some, I guess they're all over there, some aerial photos that show where the existing drainage infrastructure is. It's a couple of networks of pipes, storm drain pipes, and catch basins to collect the road runoff and discharge off of the roadway. This section of Packers Falls Road is currently DOT owned and maintained. We have been working closely with DOT Concord office and District 6 office to negotiate reclassification of the road, and in the process of doing so, they have in their plans to replace that drainage and resurface the road so that when we do reclassify and the town accepts the road, it's essentially a newly refurbished road, not inheriting decades-old infrastructure that's about to be replaced. So they will do the replacement first. So part of this is addressing the failing drainage that's out there. So currently, there are a couple of outfalls, one behind 32 Packers Falls Road, and it's kind of the middle section of the road, and then there's another outfall that's at the northern end, right near the Durham town line. Both of those outfalls are currently just pipe ends. The one behind 32 Packers Falls is actually completely buried in the lawn, and we were not able to locate it. So these need to be cleaned out, replaced with newer HDPE pipes, and establish some riprap aprons to dissipate energy and prevent erosion into the resources. So I'm here because though this work is exempt from a local permit, the work is within the buffer zone of a prime wetland, and we wanted to, as a courtesy, make everyone aware that this work is going on and ensure that, everyone knows the town will be doing this work in accordance with best management practices and working with DOT and using proper erosion control measures and all of that kind of stuff. So also here to answer questions if anyone has questions about the work to be done.
How big are the pipes?
The existing pipes range from 12 inches to 15, possibly 18. They're old CMP, so it's kind of hard to tell when the bottom's rotted out what they used to be. Primarily CMP. I think the segment that's at the very northern end by the Durham town line has one pipe segment that's RCP. That one seems okay, but is fully plugged.
And it seems to me that they will, from what you just said, correct me if I'm wrong, but it seems like they'll go in and bring them to size that would be recommended. And then we would take over maintenance of those for future.
Yeah, for the future.
Whatever.
Yeah, into the future. Yep. It's essentially a replacement in kind. They will be upsized slightly to meet current standards and minimum pipe size standards. So the pipes that are currently 12-inch will be 15-inch. And I think one of the outfalls would be an 18-inch.
Is that a standard upsizing, 3 inches roughly?
It's a standard.
How do you decide?
It's standard pipe sizes. So they go from 12 to 15 to 18 to 24 to 30 to, so it's just the next
So they would
step
jump
up.
one size?
Jump one size. And that's primarily because DOT has some minimum pipe size standards that have been updated. It used to be a 12-inch because that would typically be large enough to not get clogged, but now the standard is 15-inch for typically for the storm drains that are within roadways and under roadways, cross connections between catch basins, because they're less likely to get clogged with debris. And they tend to carry appropriate flows.
So I guess my question would be, is somebody doing their homework to reevaluate the size of that drainage area? And if it's a 12-inch now and they would upsize it to 15-inch and it really needs an 18-inch, would we know that?
Yes, we've worked with DOT to confirm that.
So internally, Newmarket staff is sort of taking a look at that drainage?
Yep.
For those pipes. That's great. And is there any recommendation that the Conservation Commission could bring to it to upsize it even more? It really is an engineering decision.
Not necessarily. These networks are fairly small, and the one at the northern end is 2 catch basins and some pipe connections, so there's not a large drainage area contributing to that one. The one at Riverbend, I think, is 7 catch basins and pipe networks, and primarily gets the roadway area at the Riverbend intersection and a little bit south. And then the third segment is at the intersection of Packers Falls to South Main Street, and it's just 3 existing catch basins as it approaches and ties into the network. And that one's constrained by the downstream network on South Main Street.
Yeah. Good.
Yes.
What's the lifespan expected to be of this new pipe setup?
The new infrastructure will be precast concrete catch basins and HDPE pipe, which, when installed properly, can be expected to last about 75 years, range from 50 years to 100 years, and when you put all the pieces together, 75 is kind of the general rule of thumb.
And the interesting thing here, I see in one of the paragraphs, closes with, this is not going to increase impervious areas from existing conditions.
Correct. The disturbances will all be in previously developed upland areas, not in jurisdictional areas. And I didn't note in there, we were coordinating with DOT, Bureau of Environment, and New Hampshire DES to get some concurrence from them regarding not needing, whether or not we need a state wetlands permit. And we did get concurrence yesterday that DES believes all work is outside of jurisdictional areas and we do not need a state permit for this.
Thank you for being that thorough, thank you.
Yeah.
Go for it, Ellen.
So the one that's going to impact prime wetlands is that 34 and 32?
Yes, and it's actually not going to impact the wetland,
buffer.
but it's adjacent. Yep, it will be within the buffer.
So it's
And I-
just those two?
just the outfall that goes between, it actually kind of, it's primarily on 32 Packers Falls, but it kind of goes between the two properties and runs along the fence line. And the outfall is right at the back of their lawn, kind of drops off
Yep.
somewhat abruptly 3 or 4 feet. We assume the outfall is kind of right there and has been buried, so it will be right up to that. And we estimated the impact area, assuming we are trenching along. We're going to follow the pipeline, so we'll keep it limited to the trench work that we need to replace the pipe. Yep.
Any other questions for Lindsay about the project?
Will it be introducing new water in the system?
No, and we are, there's a tight budget for this. Good news is that DOT will be funding the project. Our DPW staff will perform the work, but DOT is providing the funds and paying for this to get done because they still own the road and the drainage. So working within the confines of that, we couldn't necessarily add new stormwater treatment. We did talk about that. We are including sumps to provide some level of increased treatment here. So the structures that are going in will have sumps to capture the sediment and prevent that from just discharging directly out to the wetlands.
So it really is a win-win
Yes,
for us.
that's how we see it.
Exactly. That's great.
Yep.
Any other questions or comments? All right, so what do we need from us?
I don't think we need anything.
Yeah.
I just wanted to make sure that you are all aware.
Aware of it.
Give some opportunity to ask some questions, talk about the project so that nobody's surprised when the digging starts in August, hopefully.
Hopefully, yeah. Might be weather dependent a little bit, huh?
Yeah, hopefully we can hit the ground running August 1st.
Well, I hope that by us hearing about this, we're able to be advocates for the project if people ask us about it. We can say, watch the meeting tape of this date and you can see Lindsay's presentation.
Yeah. So thank you.
Thank
Thanks for your
you.
time.
Thank you, Lindsay.
All right. The next item we have would be a presentation from, we'll let Lynn, would you like to introduce the person who is here with you,
Yeah,
as well as yourself? Give us a little bit of your background, and
Yeah.
let's see what you got.
absolutely. Thank you for making time.
Well, it was kind of fun to flex and figure out when that time could be with
Yeah.
your schedule and meeting schedules and whatnot, so
Yeah,
thank you for making
And thank
it
you to
happen.
Ellen, actually, who prompted this, who suggested that we come and talk about 2 projects, and I kind of slipped in a third there because getting a little bit of time with you is so valuable. I want to kind of fit in a couple different topics. So I'm Lynn Picaro. I work for the Great Bay National Estuarine Research Reserve.
Can
which
you
is,
lean in or
Oh,
scoot
sure.
the mic closer to you?
Yeah.
Thank
so I work at the Great Bay National Estuarine Research Reserve, which is based at the Great Bay Discovery Center, kind of at the Greenland-Stratham border. I know a few of you. And this is Claudia Roose, who's. I'll let you explain yourself.
Hi, I am Lynn's intern for the summer, UNH
good.
fellow, undergrad, and this summer I'm helping Lynn with a board empowerment series survey development. So we're doing a couple projects together, but the main one is sending out surveys and reading meeting minutes, basically just to get an idea of what conservation commissions need. Just kind of helping you guys out however we can.
And so we'll tell you a little bit more about that kind of as part of this presentation this evening. Yeah. So maybe I'll just jump right in. Would you guys actually just, I caught names as you went around and did roll call, but would you mind just repeating your first name and if you would, how long you've served on the Conservation Commission?
Sure, we can start over there with Ellen.
Hi, I'm Ellen Snyder. I've lived in Newmarket 30 years, and I've been on and off pretty much the whole time. Gone here and there, but sort of been involved.
Hi, Zach, and I think I'm coming up on a year, and I've lived in Newmarket like a little over 2 years.
I'm George Anderson, alternate member, and today.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah,
Just got
we're
promoted
thrilled
to
about
voting
that.
member.
Chris, and I've been on this for 6 years, and in several other towns, I've been on conservation commissions as well as with Barbara and the NHACC.
Colin Lawson, a resident for 16 years now in Newmarket. Worked for Trout Unlimited before I retired, and I've been on the Conservation Commission, I think, for a year and a half.
I'm Elizabeth, who just came to a great workshop on reducing nitrogen and phosphorus runoff in residential use for the watershed, so that was fantastic. I'm new today, also as an alternate. Years ago, I was a member. I'm been a resident for about 9 years, and I just passed through.
Kind of a mix of like folks who've been on the commission for a long time and then a couple newer members. I also serve on the Conservation Commission in my community. In fact, just got to see presentations from these guys just last night in my other role on the commission, which was kind of fun. Anyway, so that's helpful, and I'll kind of connect that to what we're talking about in a minute, but it's just nice to know who's kind of in the room. So like I said, I'm going to kind of do sort of 3 different topics here pretty quickly. Chris said we could take about 30 minutes, so maybe Chris just kind of give us a little signal if we're going too long. I'll try to pause kind of after each topic and just see if there's questions or comments or suggestions for us. And Claudia here, as you can see, is taking some good notes that we'll kind of bring back to the team. And then the other thing I'll say is, and Ellen invited us to come. I thought we'd have like a couple more people with us, but the last minute folks couldn't, so I'm kind of presenting on behalf of a few different projects that all are kind of linked, but in some cases there'll be kind of other people who are the doers and the knowers, and I might need to pass questions off to them. So the 3 different projects that we're talking about tonight all are connected to this initiative called Great Bay 2030, which is made up of those organizations are the steering committee for it, but it's a partnership with New Hampshire Charitable Foundation, who found a fantastic donor who wanted to kind of put some money towards doing kind of innovative work on behalf of Great Bay and its watershed. So it's been super fun to really just get creative and do work that we couldn't necessarily do with our normal federal and state budgets. So I'll just tell you a little bit about some of the specific things that have come out of that. So this initiative actually has kind of 5 different focal areas that are shown here on the slide. The one that actually all of these are connected to is the one in the upper left there. Fostering a culture of stewardship was the kind of the challenge that was given to us, and I actually kind of co-chair a work group that's tasked with trying to figure out what we could do to meet that goal of fostering a greater sense of stewardship amongst folks across the watershed. So pretty broad kind of goal. And then there's other projects that are doing really innovative stuff around habitat and land protection and climate adaptation. So a couple of the things we've been working on, I think, have some connection to all of you, and I'll just try to kind of explain where I see those connections. The first is this, so fostering a culture of stewardship, right? There's probably lots of different ways to think about that. On sort of at one end of the spectrum, you want to go as broad as possible, right? We want to kind of get the word out and sort of connect to more people across the watershed, which kind of lends itself to, okay, what are some innovative communications techniques? So we kind of put our heads together and sort of came up with sort of a concept. 7 Rivers to the Coast is kind of the branding we've given it, but it's essentially meant to be sort of a regional communications platform that could help all of these different organizations kind of work together, kind of merge our content, merge our messaging, and together try to kind of reach a broader audience. And I'll just show you a little bit more of what that looks like. These are the folks that have been contributing to this initiative. And really the center point of this right now really is this new website that got launched within the last year. That's got, as you can see here, information about all the 7 rivers that feed into Great Bay. There's a pretty cool map, kind of an interactive mapping tool, as well as a printed map that some of you may have seen, and I think actually is in your packets that you were given when you joined the Conservation Commission. But you can kind of drill down into each watershed, find the access points for the rivers, And then there's a lot of information too that hopefully, once you're kind of out and exploring and feeling connected, that you'll feel motivated to, kind of step up and do a little bit more in your own life to help protect the watershed. So there's a lot of information about what you can do at home, in your community, across New Hampshire. There's also a pretty vibrant calendar of events there, where all of those different partners contribute different events and things that are being hosted. So Turtle Fest, for example, was featured on there. And I will say that this is the thing that I think could be the most sort of practical sort of thing that you all might want to plug into. Getting events posted there, but then also if you are doing, if you have a communications feed, social media or whatever, and you want more content for that, here's another place where you could kind of grab some things. Hey, this might be relevant to our mission. I can help promote it. So there could be kind of a sort of a two-way kind of benefit there, I hope. And there's a blog and, place to kind of add content there online if you have a story you want to share. So for example, I often, Claudia's doing a lot of communications work with us this summer, and so oftentimes we'll do a little blog that goes on our Great Bay website, and then we duplicate it here on this website. We don't have there's no hesitation around duplicating content just to help us reach a different audience. And then there's also some social media work as part of that as well. So I would encourage folks, I'm going to actually just pass this around if you don't mind. There's a little flyer if you want to grab one, just to kind of remind yourself of the website. And if you would, it's always super great to just get names and emails, and I can just follow up, especially with the last topic that Claudia and I are doing together. If you're interested in kind of hearing the next phase of that, I could send you an update over email. And then we'd love for you all to join. There's also like an e-newsletter that comes out. I think it's just quarterly at this point. So that's Seven Rivers to the Coast. And Ellen, this is one of the topics you wanted me to bring to the commission. Is there anything else that you think we should be featuring here for this group? Yes, that's the next topic. So check it out. It's a really beautiful website, and if you've got suggestions, that's one of the fun things about this Great Bay 2030 initiative, that each year we have a chance to kind of expand and change a little bit, so we could be pretty responsive at this time. So the second project that we were asked to talk about tonight is this, we're calling it Great Bay Signage. So sort of our next thing was like, okay, we got everybody kind of pooling their content, pooling their resources. We've got this goal of reaching more people within the watershed. What are some ways we can kind of continue to do that beyond just electronic stuff? It'd be nice to have some stuff out there in the real world, So this is a project to try to create some, physical signs across the landscape that could help folks just kind of better kind of understand the rivers, how the rivers are connected to the estuary, where they are within the watershed, and then ideally be a little bit of branding that can bring folks to this website and to kind of learn more. And there's actually a different team that's been working on this. I'm kind of loosely involved as like sort of the advisory sort of capacity here. And the group has actually picked out 2 locations in Newmarket where they think signs would be sort of well suited. And I know there's been some preliminary conversations with Bart and maybe others in the room, Bridget or Ellen, maybe you've been part of some of those conversations. The 2 locations they're, pretty serious about at this point is Shandanda Park and Shopmire Park. And I can show you what the draft signs look like. Those are the names of the folks who are really leading this effort, Lynn from Sea Grant, and then 2 folks from the Stratford Regional Planning Commission. And in terms of the timeline, the goal here is to kind of do the final review of the signs and the locations this summer. So at least at the staff level, I'm assuming that they're probably going to go through BART to get things approved, and then hoping to kind of install this fall. So I'll just show you what they look like. So this is kind of the draft design for the one that's planned at Shandanda Park. And this is imagined to be just kind of a pretty small sign, 8.5 by 11. As you know, down at Shandanda Park, there's already quite a bit of signage. And we don't want to kind of compete with the fantastic signage that's there, explaining the history, explaining the location. So it's meant to kind of place you within the watershed. There's some, stewardship messages there. And then that middle section was really important to the group that's been leading this project. They really wanted there to be a little more awareness about the shellfish farming in the estuary, in particular because there's oftentimes the potential for conflicts between boaters and the shellfish farmers and this kind of growing part of our kind of coastal economy. So it's a fun thing to feature. as sort of just an awareness, but then also to kind of avoid conflicts. So that's what that middle part is there. And then you can see the blue panel is really just hoping to get people a little bit excited about the Seven Rivers to the Coast initiative and visit the website and kind of follow along. And then the second location is this Shopmire Park. I'm actually personally less familiar with this park, but the idea, I'll show you the sign in a minute, is it looks like that they have a sort of a tentative location picked out. And I think their idea is to let's not make this more complicated than it needs to be. If there's a place where we could kind of add a sign to an existing post, I think they're very open to that. And then here's the couple designs that they're playing with. And this is, again, this is kind of a watershed-wide initiative, so this is obviously not your watershed. This is the Salmon Falls River and a couple different designs there with a little narrative about the watershed, including a little bit about the indigenous name for that watershed and what those kind of names mean, which I think is really neat. And then some stats there about how many communities, how many miles, what kind of drainage area. And then if there's space, I think the left design there is for a larger design, slightly larger. You can see the one on the left is designed for a 12 by 18 inches, and the other one's by 9 by 12. So still kind of relatively small, kind of like a do not park or kind of sign. But they can offer kind of some additional sort of placemaking and interpretive stuff in some of these locations, right, that are very close to the water. And people may not realize that they're, how that water body is connected to all the other rivers and bays around this area. And then here's what, and Ellen, if you have a question in just a minute. It's a little quirky tonight, sorry about that.
So there'll be different signs at each place, or there'll be both of these signs at each place?
I think these are two designs depending on what the landowner wants, what the space can handle in terms of the size. And then obviously the content will be customized for the river that the sign is next to. So this is actually the draft content for the Lamprey River sign, if you're interested in that. Again, I wasn't the one who wrote this, but I'll let you guys read it. Yeah, go ahead, Elizabeth.
There is an existing sign at Shopmire Park that discusses the Lamprey River and its history, etc. I just suggest that you may want to look to see what's there so you don't duplicate things. I'm sure there's lots of other new, interesting information you could add, but taking that before you come up with the final text. Yeah, quite a large kiosk. It's larger. Yes, there are quite a few signs there, but there's always great new information you can give, but maybe even closer to the riverbank, who knows, where you have a put-in for kayaks and also access to swimming. I can't think of a sign there, so that might stand out a little more, potentially.
That's a great thing to note.
But to take a look at it before you finalize.
Yep, okay. Yeah, Chris.
I see two things on there that would be grammatical sort of things to talk about.
Yeah.
But moreover, I can email you that, but
Yeah.
moreover, I'm a little confused because the Lamprey River is not wild and scenic. Portions of the Lamprey River are wild and scenic, correct?
Yes.
Yeah. So that, I think, is a little misleading.
Yeah.
I thought it
Let's capture that portion of the Lamprey
designated
River.
a national wild and scenic river.
Only certain segments of it. That's why in the Lamprey River Advisory Council and all those watershed things, only certain people can vote on certain things that pertain to what you can do in the river. The wild and scenic portions have different backgrounds and different regulations than the rest of the river.
Wild and scenic is Epping, Lee, Newmarket, and Durham to the dam, or Durham, Newmarket to the dam. That's the wild and scenic portion. The rest of the river is part of the state river program, but the national designation is those four towns.
Can you repeat again only because
So Epping
Yes.
comes down, so from Epping, Lee, Durham, Newmarket to the dam.
To the
So
dam.
not the saltwater portion.
That's the
wild and
scenic.
scenic.
Okay, thank you.
That's the only one.
Yeah. And so is that Piscassic or Piscassic River, or did I just double check on that?
Yeah.
Yeah, I've heard that.
So they might be,
I've heard that for the Piscassic River too, so that might need to be checked.
just to double check, yeah. If there's a C or not, because,
Can you back up to the first sign
For sure.
version, the very first sign?
Back further? out?
Yeah, the one before that.
Yeah. So this is the one that would go down to Shandanda Park. There's a little more relevant work in the
So that version seems like it would fit also at Shopmire and not the next one. I think I agree with Elizabeth because Shandanda also has a kiosk with information about the Lamprey River that LRAC did. So, and they did those too there. So it might be a little duplicative to do that other version there.
Okay, so this version, the Shandanda Park one, would go better at Shopmire.
No, this would be at both places. At both
Both
places,
places.
yeah.
Okay.
And I assume the text is a little different because that is actually not Shandanda, the circle is not our town. So maybe the language is actually a little different for the Newmarket one.
I think it's going to be really similar.
Similar, okay.
This one, they're not doing a whole lot of
Yeah.
information as far as I know.
Yeah.
But yeah, obviously.
That's fine, I don't think it, yeah, I mean, I think it would be fine at Shopmire or Shanda.
I'd like to see the consistency, so people don't just get this feeling of like, all right, I'm not a fourth grader, this is not my summer reading assignment. I just want to see like the big picture here.
I mean, one thing I'm looking here is shellfish farming, right? That's really the title portion of the estuary, like that's going to be relevant at Shopmire. Yeah.
It wouldn't.
But it's informative for the whole idea of the estuary and what the shellfish farming is doing for the nature economy, let alone for the health of the area. And anybody kayaking could very well ultimately end up there.
Yeah, and the Shopmire, I actually should know this right now. Is there a proper boat ramp? Not proper, but is there a
Yeah,
boat
there's a
ramp there?
put in and there's a swimming hole put in.
Thank you. Sorry. No, you're great. I'm not very good at staying in place. Yeah, so if there's boaters going there, and they might be going down to the estuary later. So the shellfish farming message could still be relevant.
Maybe confusing
Yeah, I know. I'm wondering.
because it's fresh water versus salt water.
Yeah. Okay.
But
I think they're both really good. See the two signs together, and so maybe when these guys are doing their review, it's a little quirky. It's actually two slightly different teams that are doing the design work in parallel with the same designer, and focused on kind of the shellfish farming and avoiding that conflict, and that was part of their driving thing, and so they had a slightly different design. But how nice it is to see them two side by side and get the best of both, depending on the location, and making sure it complements the existing signage.
Look at that shellfish farming block. The visual graphic could stay the same if you read it or not, but the shellfish block for Shopmire could be something of other interest or import.
Yep.
I like the consistency more than like, here's this graphic, here's this graphic, here's this thing, here's that thing. We've already got, there's already a lot of signs.
Yep. Okay.
may I ask a question?
Of course.
Do you think across from the falls?
That side of the river is a little quirky and a little different with new developments about what can and can't happen there. For instance, no vehicular traffic, no cars, no trucks, whatever. So at this point, just me speaking for me, I would tend to say, no, I think we need to work on the relationship about what is happening at Heron Point and could happen at Heron Point or doesn't happen at Heron Point. And I guess I'm channeling my inner David Carroll, who says sometimes it's okay just to have a thing be just the thing itself without all the do's and don'ts and this and that. So I think more people are on the Shanda side right now than on the Heron Point side. But we have some things to add about Heron Point later on during today's meeting. Oh, it's like you're clairvoyant here a little bit.
Other locations like that, where you're like, oh, this would be an obvious one for some additional message about the watershed. Yeah, go ahead.
The other place where there is a boat ramp is our Sliding Rock, which is used by a lot of boaters. It's freshwater again, it's above the dam, but that actually might get more traffic in terms of boaters than Shopmire, because it's a long way to carry in, and I think a lot of people boaters aren't using Shopmire very much.
If you said there could be two's it, what two do you want? I would also say, I was about to say it sounded impolite. You were not impolite. I thought I would make it sound impolite if I said, why Shopmire? Why wouldn't you do it up at Sliding Rock? Because Sliding Rock has much more in the way of even rec programming going in and out with kayaks and whatnot there.
Okay.
And motorboats, yeah.
Yeah.
Plus, Shanda's in a state of flux right now, sort of, in many ways, so rather than put another sign someplace where we don't know what it's ultimately going to look like, could be burning a lot of energy and time for people.
Yeah. Okay.
So if you focused on Sliding Rock,
Sliding
you might...
Rock versus Shanda Park. Okay. Yeah.
Versus Shopmire Park, that's what you said.
Yeah, versus shop.
Versus
Versus
Shopmire.
Shopmire. Okay. Sorry. Make sure I got that. Yeah.
Too many S's.
And the Shanda Park is interesting to us just because it is part of the saltwater piece, so the shellfish farming is more relevant there. Okay, that's all really helpful. And if there is any other locations, I think this team actually would love to kind of continue this project with some additional funding and really make sure they, if there's demand, add a couple more signs. And I personally love like the complement between like, here's this kind of regional sort of thing, and then here's some like local information, you know. So if there isn't any more about that, I'll jump to the third topic, and this is the work that I'm doing with Claudia. And it's really to help, we're doing kind of a, that's meant to kind of inform some future programming. We're hoping to, for funding, again, through that Great Bay 2030 initiative, to do some work that we so these are the folks that have been involved so far, so I'm here kind of on behalf of this team. I think names that you recognize there, like probably worked with her quite a bit. Folks from the Piscataqua Region Estuaries Partnership, you know, do work all around the watershed.
Jay's work has been really wonderful. His outreach,
Yeah.
and his roundtables and whatnot.
Yes, exactly. And so we're hoping that essentially our idea is that to do a little bit more. So conservation commissions and maybe others that are, you know, care about natural resources or planning boards. And we hope that anything new that we create will be complementary to some of these things that are on the slide. As Chris mentioned, started helping Coastal Conservation Commission Roundtable. Ellen participates, and really anybody in the room would be invited if it's of interest. It's just super simple. Every other month, on Zoom, we pick a topic. Sometimes we get a guest or two.
What's your town? Where?
I'm in Portsmouth.
Oh, okay.
Like really practical things. Like in Portsmouth, we started doing site walks because we heard that Hampton always did site walks. And so, like 1 week, Wednesday at 4 o'clock, we could kind of plan around it. I don't, just like little things like that have been helpful. And I personally love that format of just kind of like peer learning. You know, PrEP, as you may know, offers a lot of small grants. They also do a lot of like sort of report cards on the ordinances that are in play at all the different communities. And then, of course, the 7 Rivers to the Coast, which I just mentioned to you. So we hope that anything new, this, we're calling it board empowerment right now, would kind of be complementary to some of this. And also, I'm going to just shamelessly do a couple more plugs if you don't mind. These are also kind of Great Bay 2030 things. Zach is personally familiar with the one on the right here. We've been kind of running this, we call it the Changemaker Boot Camp program, that's meant to kind of be sort of an entry point for folks who want to get more involved in water resources, either as, you know, advocates and champions, or stepping onto boards and, you know, becoming local leaders. I think Kachi was here a year ago, and you were already in this role, and then kind of joined the boot camp, which was really fun.
Yeah, I was just to say,
Yeah.
it was an awesome experience. I really recommend it. I feel like I learned a ton about Great Bay and just like how to be an advocate in different ways, and also learning, because I was new to the Conservation Commission, so like learning and understanding how conservation commissions work and how they could work together. I found it super valuable and like really fun, so recommend.
Yay, that's great. Well, and it's been interesting too, because, you know, one of the goals, right, is to kind of bring people into these. So we have had a few people who kind of come through the program and are now either on like local river advisory committees, sustainability committees, conservation commissions, and we're kind of hearing from them that they're like, okay, I'm here now. What did you want me to do? It takes a while to feel effective in these roles. I feel like I'm, you know, 3 years in my. So this board empowerment thing is sort of meant to be kind of the next step, that it come into this work, can be And the watershed walks there on the left are just a little shameless plug. Ellen's helped us with a couple of them, but we've got a series of walks happening this summer. And I'll put both of those just in a follow-up email in case you want to kind of plug in. So board empowerment. So this was a workshop series that was offered from 2016 to 2018. Those are just a couple of the workshops that were offered. I was not in my role at the time. But they did all sorts of kind of deep dives into different topics. You know, you all were talking a lot about stormwater earlier in this meeting. And as you know, there's like tons of lingo and terminology, a sump and a catch basin and piping sizes and how do you do sizing. And you can imagine, right, it could be helpful for your work to just have like a quick 2-hour intensive, here's what you need to know about stormwater in order to better review projects or to, you know, advise the town or support the town in their stormwater work. And so that's what these were. Kind of, you can see 1.5 to 3 hours, depending on the topic. Content expert, but then lots of discussion, typically in person. And so we'd like to get it going again, but we want to just get as much input as we can before we, you know, sort of, you know, create it. So that's where Claudia comes in. We've got a survey that we're trying to get as many people to respond to as possible. We'll follow up over email with that. And Chris, you just did a little survey too, like, so it'd be interesting to kind of, we'd love to make our results available to everybody. Sure. Some interesting kind of crossover there. And we're hoping to wrap it up by the end of the summer, so we'll report back to you. These next, oh yeah.
Of those things, that the dates kind of shocked me, like, it was 2016 when I did one of those.
But the one that was particularly interesting to me was the one that I thought, oh, God, why did I sign up for that? It's going to be so dumb, but it was so good. The thing that you think is the dumbest is the thing you need the most.
Yeah.
Push-ups or something, right?
Yeah.
So, it was about reading plans.
Yes.
And when you're in a room like this, it can be wicked intimidating when somebody's saying like, oh, I look in this, you know, quadrant A9, whatever, and I see the hash mark. I know I have been one of the people that said like, oh yeah, I'm horrible at it, I can't stand that.
Yeah.
But when you really are in a room where you're supposed to go and just put it out there and say, I don't know what this means, I don't know what this means, how do you really read the elevation? Can you, without a trial balloon, how do I know what that really means or what that really looks like in that contour, whatever? To have people there really able to ask questions that aren't pertinent to the person that's costing somebody money to come and present for them, to really feel like, oh, now I learned something. It's really constructive.
Yeah, I totally agree. Because it's, I mean, you have questions and this is not the right setting to ask those embarrassing questions about like how.
Well, they shouldn't be embarrassing. We always say like, oh, ask anything. But then it's like, oh God, but everybody but me knows exactly.
I do too. But, yeah, exactly. That kind of thing, right? So come in, maybe you've got a specialty and it might be some natural resource field, wildlife or whatever, but that doesn't mean you have experience reviewing engineering plans. Yeah, so that's kind of the idea.
We hope not. If everybody would have had that same experience, then we wouldn't care about a bird walk at 7 in the morning in the rain, right? So
yeah, it takes a whole suite of expertise, right, to do this work. Yeah, so the idea is to kind of help sort of kind of round out people's experience. So these are sort of our initial goals for this workshop series, or whatever it might be, to, you know, engage both new and existing board members, to help build relationships across towns and support that peer-to-peer learning, to really share resources and best practices. You know, there's a whole suite, right, of like planning, mappers, decision support stuff, and like how can we make those a little bit more accessible, and then fostering collaboration. And this is, you know, my role is to kind of support communities, so this is very self-serving. It helps me kind of strengthen my relationships with the towns around Great Bay. And I'll just note that it doesn't necessarily need to be a workshop series. It could be something else, and we've got a few ideas that I'll just sort of buzz through here. So this next set of slides are really some of the questions that you'll see on the survey. So I'll just sort of preview them and then just take a couple of questions and then kind of be done to sort of save time. So our sort of initial ideas for this workshop series 2.0, you know, that it could launch in 2026, might be sort of a slow development to really give us time to really kind of develop a good curriculum and engage some real content area experts. But there's lots of new tools in science. We could really, you know, lean into some online materials to kind of support any of these topics, to kind of, you know, support learning and give you something to reference afterwards. And then can hopefully, you know, really support this regional collaboration, connect to some of the grant programs, et cetera. So it could be a little bit of a kind of a pipeline of, you know, some learning and then maybe some partnership to get things done if there's specific things. So the picture up top there is that's where I work. That's our workshop space. We host tons of workshops there. And then, but we don't necessarily need to do the kind of traditional workshop thing. It could be a field-based, program or online or something else. And these are some of the topics we've brainstormed so far, stormwater, land protection, public engagement, planning for climate resilience, that site plan review that Chris mentioned. Probably a variety of different format ideas we could imagine, virtual, field, in person. It could be just a single session, or it could be like a multiple session thing. I think our idea is to make it as sort of easy as possible for people to kind of pick and choose what's relevant to them, but we could, kind of beef it up a little bit. We could also try to provide some support. We could probably provide childcare. We could probably do, I don't know, if there's something specific to provide to make it easier to participate. I think that's the beautiful thing about workshop, and for folks who attend, and maybe for folks who don't have time to attend, checklists, short videos, long videos, reference sheets, even just, if we're going to really pay somebody to be kind of an instructor for a workshop, can we just make them available to answer questions, and we pay them, afterwards to be available to folks who participate in that. I feel like for me, sometimes that's what I want, just like somebody to call. So we can kind of get a feel for what we offer. Here's some of the questions we've been asking commissioners when we've had this chance to really visit with them, just if there's any reflections of what has helped you kind of get up to speed. And if there's any specific topics or specific ideas that you want to throw out, like that for Claudia and I. Yeah.
So I know we have the granite mapper, but maybe a workshop using that with some other, intro to GIS would be kind of fun for everyone.
Yes, I love that idea. Yeah. Yeah, Chris.
This one's hard to describe. I would like to see you folks, if I had a magic wand, I would say I would give you time and inclination to put a workshop proposal into the New Hampshire Municipal Association. Because if that group of people at their annual conference or at a mini conference or workshop that they have could hear what you're doing and why it's important and what services you're offering to conservation commissions, that would help us immensely when it comes time either to build a budget and say, we want to add more money because we want to go to the GBNRE workshop series or whatever it is. Right now, it's kind of by guess and by gosh. And a thing I hear from a lot of other conservation commission people in other parts of the state is, well, we go and we say, don't worry, it's only like $50. It's not a big deal. It's just $50. Instead, we should be able to say, like, this thing's going to cost money. It's worth it. Here's the expertise being involved, and here's what we're going to go do, learn, and be able to bring back to our town. So those are deciders that go to municipal association. It's the town administrators and the department heads, and those people go to those things. They're the ones that are in a position to help and support us, perhaps at a more granular level than us being able to talk to Jay in Hampton or whoever, or you in Portsmouth, whatever it is. It's wonderful that we can have that collegiality, but you can't help me build a budget here in town, or you can't help me convince that even though we didn't plan on it, look, we just got this thing, and these 4 of us want to go, and we're going to fan out and go to these 4 sessions of this thing, for instance, of one of your offerings. That reaches real deciders that can help understand much more. And I kind of got a feeling for that a little bit last night. We're going through a town charter commission about government and forms of government. And so I gave a quick presentation about the Conservation Commission. And for instance, the people just didn't know that the things got started in 1968 up in New Hampshire. And why? Well, to preserve land and take care of safe water. That's the crux of the whole thing. So once you know that, you think, like, here's what all this other stuff is building on. It's kind of kunta kinte, right? Just get back to the roots of this thing and see who's in a position to really help.
Yeah, so staff, and then maybe other boards.
Yeah.
How to kind of reach them. I mean, there is a whole other model. Like, so one model is kind of back to sort of the workshop thing. The regional workshop that's sort of targeted at commissioners, but there could be another model, and someone, coming into Newmarket and doing something very specific to Newmarket that's meant to be kind of a cross-board, cross-staff thing.
Especially because.
One way to help you kind of connect with the other deciders in your community.
And we're in an advisory capacity, so
Right.
that, sometimes it feels very patronizing, like, okay, thanks for your advice. Now, here's what the real RSA says we can do or can't do. So
Yeah.
you have to have a really good working relationship to have your opinion, which is only an opinion in an advisory capacity, count, to make more, sometimes philosophical decisions,
Yeah.
which might be counter to financial decisions.
Yeah, yeah. I think we can make a note of that, and there's so many ways to kind of tackle that, whether that's like kind of complementary communications work or,
Kind of.
yep, yep. Yeah. And I'm thinking a little bit more broadly, maybe about the audience. There's also, I think, sometimes like kind of lessons to be learned from other towns about how that kind of collaboration happens, work with staff happens, or maybe the select board. Some like lessons to learn there. But, yeah. Any other ideas? Yeah, go ahead, Ellen.
I went to, I think it was at the Great Bay Discovery Center years ago, on language, on writing and what words people relate to, like not us, but like the layperson. And I think that would be really, it was a professional who came in and did that. He was a consultant. And that was really helpful. And, the language might be really different now, what people now relate to. We're a really big community, and it's really hard to reach people. And so not only the language, but what are ways to reach people in your community? Because it's so fragmented.
Political
Yeah.
divide.
I was at that one too. I think he came from Minnesota or Michigan.
Yeah, it was very good.
Yeah, it was a big deal.
Any other ideas that you want to share right off the bat? Of course, like, put all those ideas too in the survey, because it is kind of an individual thing, right? You personally, would you actually want to go to something in person? We're not sure, right? So please do take the time to complete the survey, and then if other ideas occur to you, put it in there, or don't hesitate to reach out to us directly. We're pretty easy to find at the Great Bay Reserve website. So maybe I'll leave it there, just because I know you've got other folks waiting for the mic.
Other ideas, questions, ideas, input?
Yeah.
Well, golly, thank you ever so much.
Yeah, this was super fun, and hopefully it's the
It wasn't
beginning.
fragmented. It wasn't three things. It was a big,
It was just
a big woven,
together.
nicely connected. All right. Feels kind of like, okay, deep breath. Now, the next item, review of the budget for 26-27 fiscal year. If we want to turn the floor over to Ellen for that, she's been involved really closely. She and I brainstormed a couple of things that we added, changed, thought about, and I think we're ready now to have this be an important meeting where we really could say this is what we want to submit. Correct, Ellen?
Sure, yeah, there's something in your packet, and just for folks who are new, so we get an allocation from the general fund, which is approved as part of our budget process in Newmarket, and the fiscal year starts July 1st, so we already have an approved, obviously, budget for this fiscal year from now until next June. So what we need to submit is a proposal or request to the budget folks as it goes through the process. See you guys. To what we would like from the general fund starting next July 1st, which would be FY27. So actually, there's a little bit of mistake on your sheet you have. So the current general fund allocation we have is on the left, which is accurate. So that's what we're working off now. And the good thing is we don't always use those amounts in those categories, but we can take from them and move and use money as we need to in some cases, which we've done in the past. Because sometimes we need more money for contractors, like this year. We're going to need more money for contractors, but we overall have enough to account for that. So, and then just as for FYI, which I'll talk about in my finance report, we also have a conservation fund, which is where a big chunk of our money is. So we tend to use the general fund money for staff. Bridget takes our minutes, or if we hire an outside contractor for that sort of thing, we hire a contractor, CELT, to do easement monitoring. We're members of New Hampshire Association of Conservation Commissions, and then sometimes we buy supplies. And so we're going to propose, I'm going to propose, Chris and I are going to propose that we change these allocations a little bit to more accurately reflect what we've been spending, and also to increase our request a little bit for the next fiscal year. So under part-time salary, It's our understanding, we used to have a person who we paid, Susan Frick took our minutes, and we paid her out of this, and she retired. I don't know how long it's been since you've been doing it, Bridget. So Bridget is staff from the planning department, and so she is taking our minutes. We think for the duration, but we're not sure. So we're saving a little. We want to save a little bit in that salary budget, but we're hoping that the planning department will cover a lot of that. So, suggesting that we drop that to $1,500 for FY27. Contractors, we're suggesting increasing to $1,800. That should be instead of $1,500 because we might want to hire other contractors.
I'm sorry.
Dues would stay the same at $500. And sorry.
Oh, I'm sorry. I'm trying to follow the
Yes, you new numbers for FY27. Yeah. So what I'm saying is, yeah. Sorry.
all right,
Yeah.
I'll cross out the.
So part-time salary, instead of $2,943, it should say $1,500.
Thank you.
Yeah,
Okay.
thank you for asking.
Okay.
Contractors, instead of $1,500, should say $1,800. Dues at $500. And supplies, we want to increase to $2,200 because that's where we often will have to buy things for, say, conservation areas, and we feel that we're stewarding those lands, but that we're doing it for the town, and so we really feel that that would be helpful to have that come out of general fund allocation. So if you add up those numbers, it comes to $6,000, which is a nice round number. And again, our current allocation is $5,343. So we're requesting just a bit more. So what we usually do is the chair sends this. If we approve it, it goes to, chair sends it to Bart, because he's essentially our staff person, and to Steve as a FYI. And then I think it goes into the planning department, actually, well, we're a separate line item, but essentially the planning department puts it forward to the budget committee and Steve, and there's a process. And then finally we vote on the whole budget next spring. So, if that makes sense. And we can change these around if you think there should be different allocation, but it's not entirely, we don't need to be entirely precise on each line item, because again, it's the overall request that's kind of key.
What type of supplies?
So we have bought a file cabinet, we bought, sometimes it's like office stuff, sometimes it could be signage, like actual signs, like I have some, it could be posts for signs, like we can take that out of conservation fund, but as I'll talk about, as we've talked about before, that, that account is we really need for sort of big stewardship projects and for maybe other land acquisition. Yeah. And so these sort of smaller supply purchases seem like it would be useful to come out of the general fund. Printing, yeah, it could be, buying, doing more notebooks, which I'll talk about later too. So it's just helpful to have a pretty good supply budget. Yes.
Just in the spirit of what was just presented, do you want to add something for workshop attendance or something like that?
We could put that under, I think they're under dues. I do know there is some support from the planning department, but it's true, we don't have any direct allocation for that. So.
I agree. I would like to see this be a little more aggressive.
Mm-hmm.
I guess it depends on truly asking Bart what is there in the planning department for us to really use for our workshops. Especially with new members and new viewpoints, and people may be thinking, oh, I get this newsletter, this is a conference I'd like to go to, or I don't think that's...
It's probably training. Bridget, do you know if there's a training line item in... I think these are set lines for some reason, but...
There's a training line in the planning budget.
Okay.
So
we could add one here as well.
I would think so, yeah.
Right, so why don't we just add a training? I think it would be training. I think that's what it would be called. Sure, what do you want to put down?
Well, I would also go so far as to say it's best to be aggressive and then have it get kicked back a little bit, because the other side of it is I can say, I want to go to this thing in Concord, it's $60, great, there's the money there, but should an expectation be because you're a member and you're going to go, you're not asking mileage reimbursement? It should be up to you to say, I don't want the mileage reimbursement, I'm actually going to go have dinner in Concord afterwards, and I'm going to drive up to Lincoln and spend the night, I don't need mileage reimbursement. Or it makes a difference and it shouldn't be an expectation that it costs you money yourself out of pocket to do more than it's already costing you to be at meetings like this.
Yeah, I will say we haven't had a lot of people take advantage of training. it has been offered in the past. So I'm not saying we shouldn't include it, but I don't know if we need to go crazy about asking for a lot of money for
Right.
training. That would be my suggestion.
But with new members and new alternates, I would say, suppose everybody went to something in the year, and things tend to be $60. 600? I wouldn't minimize the importance of the work, and the more educated people are, the more professional development people have, the more the time is valued to say, I learned this, I met this group, they're doing this, we could do this as well. It kind of tags into the Great Bay thing we just learned about too.
I would probably drop supplies a little bit, and then put a training line item in there. Because we've never asked for this much supplies, so I think we would get a little pushback maybe on that. So we could drop supplies and put in $500 or $600 for training, and drop supplies to like $1,800, and that's still quite a bit. I
can
just
live
worry
with
about
that.
going too hard. We're going to ask for a fairly large warrant article support, and not that they're
compared to
related,
some warrant
but
articles. Be proud.
yeah, no, I'm just saying, I think we have to be recognized that, we're all taxpayers, and it's going to be tight, people have tight budgets with property tax and so forth, so I think we should be respectful of that.
So drop supplies.
So if we drop
But-
supplies, we could say 1,500 for supplies, so that gives us 700 for training. Or we could say,
Well, the 700 for training could also be somebody is going to get an honorarium to come and do something for us as a group.
yeah, maybe we call it training workshops.
Yeah.
Okay. So that still keeps us at 6,000.
That's very respectful.
Okay. That seems reasonable. So again, just run through again, part-time salary, 1,500, contractors, 1,800, dues, 500, supplies, 1,500, training, workshop, 700, postage, 0. Because we don't know why we always put postage there, but
Yeah.
doesn't really matter. And I think that's 600.
Yeah.
3,
Meet you at Crack Skulls. Come get your stuff.
yes, so I think that's $6,000. Okay, if people are okay with that, we can have a motion to approve that, and I'll put that forward, Chris will put that forward to,
We have a motion
make
to
a
approve.
motion.
Thank you. Second? Thank you, George. Any further discussion about these budget changes and budget final number? All right, all in favor?
aye.
Aye.
Okay. Unanimous, thank you. And just for clarification, when we were introducing each other, Emma's a student rep, so doesn't vote as an alternate or a full member or whatever. And I didn't say just a student rep, we're thrilled to have it. And she's also going to continue next year. So she was with us last year as a junior, she's going to be with us again this year as a senior. All right. So that was the review of the budget. Do you have anything else you want to include right now, Ellen, or do you want to?
We could do that under financial summary.
We'll do it on that, okay. Next, Rosa Property.
Is that me again?
Still Ellen, yeah.
Okay, so for those who are new, we're doing a land conservation project with the Rosa family on Waldley Falls Road. And you may not, as a new member, have the packet, because I don't think we included anything, so I can email that to Elizabeth and George so you have it. So we've been working with them since last fall. They have 16 acres in Newmarket and 24 acres in Durham that abut each other off of Waldley Falls Road, and they came to us because they wanted to see that land conserved. So we have a nice property description. There's all kinds of really nice benefits to the property, conservation values. So we have there was an appraisal. The purchase and sales agreement is nearly finalized and should be signed this week or next week. The town council needs to approve it. So Steve can sign it next week, and the landowner should be signing it this week or next as well. So that's the first big step. But we've also been applying for grants because this is an acquisition. So we're acquiring a conservation easement. The plan is to acquire a conservation easement on the Newmarket portion that we would hold, the town, and we would, via the Conservation Commission, and we would acquire in fee the Durham portion, which is the back portion, and the town would own that again via the Conservation Commission. So the Southeast Land Trust is assisting us with some of the project efforts, documentation, and grant writing. We have applied to the Land and Community Heritage Investment Program for, we actually had to drop that down to $70,000. So we had hoped to apply for $75,000, but that was, they only fund 50%, and we were very close. And it's a little bit complicated because we're only applying to LCHIP for the fee acquisition in Durham because they require public access, hunting, fishing, so forth, if you get an LCHIP grant. And the landowners didn't want just outright public access on the Newmarket portion because it's basically an 8-acre field that they use, and they have a family cemetery. So it doesn't really fit to have had public access on the easement. So we couldn't apply to LCHIP for the easement part. We can only apply for the Durham part. So then we have to segment out the costs for just the fee acquisition, which is, we had to basically do a 50-50 because there wasn't any easy way to figure out, well, what is it going to cost to do an appraisal on that? What's it going to cost to do a boundary survey on that? So we just split it out 50-50. So we had to reduce the overall budget a little bit and therefore drop the request to $70,000. So what we should hear, well, there's a site visit by LCHIP in September, and we'll send that date out, so if anybody wants to join us. Bridget and Bart and I went to the Land Privilege Advisory Committee in May and asked for $100,000, and they gave us $100,000, so that's awesome for this project. We've applied to something called the Fields Pond Foundation for a grant. Actually, it's not that budget sheet. For $20,000, and we hope to hear from them in the next 2 months. And we'll be applying to the Moose Plate and to the Great Bay Resource Protection Partnership because they also have a grant program. And then we committed $15,480 from the Conservation Fund to the project. We may have to increase that a little bit again because we had to juggle these numbers a little bit, but we don't have to decide that now. We can decide, essentially it will be like toward the end of the project, are we short a couple $1,000s or something? We may need to pick that up from the Conservation Fund. And the warrant article, that again, we'll know a little bit more in terms of the numbers probably by the fall because we'll have heard hopefully from LCHIP or at least some of these other grant sources. So it's probably going to be $140,000 to $145,000 warrant article. That's our hope. But again, that could be adjusted a little bit. So anyway, it's on track. It's going really well. The landowners are very excited about working with the town on this. So we're pretty excited about it. Yeah.
I have a question. The $100,000 from the Lamprey River Advisory Committee, where is that funding coming from?
They get National Park Service money, and they get an allocation. I don't know how much it is. And
Automatically?
they get an allocation, and this is money that it's like our conservation fund, so it rolls over. And the smart thing they did is they got that money and they shifted it, so CELT is their fiscal agent. So that money that they have right now is sitting with CELT as their fiscal agent, and so it should be there, right? It's federal money, but that money should be for us. So we have over a year. We said we'd close by September or even maybe November of 2026. These things take time, so that money is there for us for that period of time. Yeah. And so we're going to the council next Wednesday, they meet? Wednesday night for their approval of the purchase and sales agreement. So we'll give them a little bit more of an update because they haven't heard a lot about the project yet. Yeah, so that's where we're at.
Any other questions about that? I know it's a lot for Elizabeth and George hearing this much at one time, and it's a lot for us to have the things that we've heard along the time being like so nicely summarized and put together now and compacted and compressed into one presentation. Ellen, thank you.
Yeah, I have the fact sheet that we put together for the council. I can send it to.
That would be handy to do, yeah. Again, it's going to get more and more important as we get closer to election time to be able to have people answer questions from neighbor, friend, guy in coffee shop line, whatever it is. So we should be advocates for the project, which is why we're going to, well, should we talk now about a possible date in August for a site walk? Or that comes out of BART through a different set of
Why don't we
schedule.
just do it the night of our, so if we're going to decide at some point not to have a meeting in August, we could just do it that night.
There you go.
Do a site walk instead. I mean, it'd be earlier, but
Perfect.
that'd be my suggestion. So we invite the council and the Conservation Commission, so it would be August.
I don't have my calendar, well, let's see. Zach's on it.
It's the second one, right?
Second Thursday.
So August 13th. Oh, sorry, no, 14th.
2025.
4:30?
Yeah.
4:30 is a good
Would
time.
that be okay with people? So we wouldn't meet at night, but instead of our regular scheduled meeting, we'd get together at 4:30 to be able to, and that way we can send a notice out to town council, planning board, anybody that would like to come and join and see the property that we're asking people to do the warrant article for.
Yeah, good. All right. Have Bart talk to Wayne about that.
Perfect. All right, now we go from big ticket item to much smaller ticket item, but of no less importance. So we wanted to talk a little bit about bicycle racks. So we have some interesting lands in town. We have interesting trails. One thing we have heard from people is, well, I drive to get to a trailhead. I can park at Piscasset-Loiselle, but I'm really not comfortable. I can't ride my bike in there, but what do I do with my bike? Yada, yada. So we thought, let's have a couple of bike racks. We talked a little bit with the school buildings and grounds. We talked a little bit with a couple of other people saying, what are you looking for in a bike rack? Which sounds so simple at first, but when you really go to buy one, not for your own self, but thinking, what's a practical bike rack? Ellen took the lead there and did some research about bike racks, and what we'd like to do tonight, we've talked a little bit about them in the past, but what we'd like to do tonight is really go ahead and vote on, hammer down, gavel at the auction drops, and we'd like to be able to go ahead and buy a couple of bike racks so we can get them installed as quickly as possible so that they're still can be used this summer, still this summer and into the fall. Or with studs, I don't care, ride it in the icy weather, that's fine too, people do that, right?
Yeah.
So, you want to talk about the models you found and the costs that could be incurred, so we can go ahead?
Sure. Yeah, there's a company called Uline, which I think they sell other stuff, but they sell bike racks. And if you look in downtown, there's some bike racks in there, the post with just the circle. So I think those can have 2 bikes. And then the rec center, I think the library, a couple other places. Elementary school has the other traditional kind where, you roll your bike up and there's like they call them the grid or something. I think they're called.
Toaster slots.
Whatever that, yeah. So there's one that can take 8 bikes, 4 on one side and 4 on the other. Not that we necessarily have that many bikes at one time, but that's and they're really heavy, so they would sit there and you don't have to. I don't think anybody could move them. They're like 60 pounds, so I think they'd be stationary. But we could always put something in the ground if we thought it needed some more containment. So those are $3.95 a piece. And what we had thought about, as Chris was saying, so at Heron Point Sanctuary, because the gate is locked, people have to walk from Lamprey Street, and you can't drive. You can only park at Lamprey Street or walk from downtown. And you can't, most of our trails you can't bicycle on. You can walk, but you can't bicycle. It's just the way the trails are. So we thought, well, Heron Point Sanctuary might be a really good place to have a bike rack, because at least people could bicycle over. Particularly, we talked about the school, high school students or elementary school students could cycle, and you have a bike rack so you could secure it, and then you could hang out over there. So that was one spot. And I just looked today. So when you go to the gate at Heron Point Sanctuary, there's a spot to the left of the gate where people can walk through because we're allowed to walk through, and the bikes could go through there too. I do think I'd have to, just let the community there know that this is what before we buy a bike rack, to say, we want to put a bike rack out there so people would also be biking through there, just so they know. My thought would be we might want to put a sign at the gate, pedestrian and bicycle access only, and through here. And I would suggest we might need to say non-motorized bicycles. We might need to talk about that a little bit in terms of, we don't necessarily have to decide that now if we're going to get bike racks, but we might need to have a policy if we're talking about.
That's a policy question, definitely, and that's going on throughout the state.
Yeah, and I don't, especially for Heron Point Sanctuary, I'm not sure they want, motorized bikes going through there. It'd just be, again, a courtesy thing. So I don't know, we might want to talk about that tonight. And then the other place I thought about for now is Sliding Rock, the conservation area we're talking about, because again, a lot of people can bike there and go swimming or go fishing. and then there's a place for the bikes, and if you go in there, the parking there is kind of atrocious, but if you go in, there's the circle, and as you go around the circle, there is a little gravel area, and then the kiosk is right here, and there's some perfectly nice flat green space right next to the kiosk on the right, so I think a bike rack would be perfect right there. So those are the two spots for now that we've thought about. I mean, we could get them for other places, but I think maybe we should do a pilot and see if people even use them. So we might actually want to just do one or two. It's up to folks.
Does Shanda Park have a bike rack?
No, I guess for now I wouldn't do in there just because things are so in flux for Shanda Park.
Yeah, that's what you keep saying. I'm curious, but well, tell me more later. But
Well, rising seawater projects and the riverfront restoration project and Moonlight Brook and parking and those kinds of things. Moreover, I think Shanda Park, I wouldn't recommend a bike rack because it's finite. So you go there and there you are. So did you have a motorboat come pick you up and take you off somewhere? Like, is your bike safe? Because you're probably there having a picnic or something, unlike the other places where you might park and then go walking, like at Heron Point, you'd park your bike and then go walking out to the promontory point. Or Piscassic, you could park your bike and then disappear on an inner tube for a while and come back. Shanda's much more, there you are. I guess you could park your bike and walk back up the hill and get a hamburger at Johnny Boston and come back, but it's much more of a dead end doesn't sound good, but it's just much more of a cul-de-sac. There you are, and there's you and your bike, and where else are you going, probably, more likely.
do they not go swimming there from Shanda Park?
Yeah, but it's tidal and it's muddy
No.
and it's just different. It's not,
I don't,
No.
I've never seen any.
No, nobody swims there, and Moonlight Brook is
yeah, they might get their feet wet, but they don't.
I've seen
swim.
some people, but they were young
Yeah.
with
Well, it's
mothers.
not perfectly recommended right now until we get some more mitigation going on.
Question on, what is our agreement with the trailer park at the
Heron
moment?
Point?
Yeah, for Heron Point.
So
what
we
is-
have, the public has the right of way across Meadow Drive, the Meadow Drive off of Bay Road. And then we have an easement on the gravel part between Meadow Drive and it's probably like 100 feet, and then the sanctuary starts.
Yeah. So as many times as I've been in there, you know, it seems like the gate is there, it's locked, can't get through. Is there a reason that we wouldn't open it for the day?
Yeah,
And
there-
let that be available to
Well, that's kind of
access?
how it used to work. It's an
Right.
automatic gate, and it was supposed to open at dawn and close at dusk. But it gets out of whack, and then sometimes people are in there, and then they ram the gate, and it's very expensive to repair. That's why it got shut, that's
Yeah.
why it got closed.
Yeah.
Yeah. And people are driving all over the place out there, so I think we do need a little bit more signage in terms of the access, but yeah, the gate is closed until anybody figures out something different, which unfortunately we've thought a lot about various options, and there really aren't very many.
Yeah, and I think, you know, you and I have talked about this a bit, you know, having access other than going through the trailer park and potentially the pathways from the parking area on Bay Road in there. I think we should really pursue that a little bit more, a little stronger with the two landowners that we want to communicate with and see if we can get that in there. And then, you know, a bike rack at the parking
Right,
lot would
yeah.
Would
a
be
good-
great.
good one, yeah. Should we, I mean, we could try one at Sliding Rock, a bike rack, and see if people use it, and you know, instead of buying two, because that doesn't include shipping, so I don't know what the shipping cost is, so it's gonna be more than $3.95, so.
I'm wondering if we could vote now to buy two, but in fact buy one, put it in Sliding Rock, and we've already voted that we're going to buy two. So once we settle some of this with, where do we want the second one? Is it at Heron Point? Did you interface with them saying, hey, we want to put a bike rack here and see what that feels like? So we don't have to do this whole thing all over again. We already know that the second one could be coming.
Yeah, I mean, I think that, it fits with the master plan, everything that we're trying to get people to use alternate transportation, and so we could donate it to some other spot if we think there's
Yeah,
another spot.
I would
that's
like to
useful.
see us do that. Also, I can say that the rec center has recently refurbished a bunch of bikes. So they've got this whole teen turf idea with kids being able, in summer camp, the older kids have made what they call off-site field trips or impromptu field trips where they can go and they could go on a bike ride, right? I mean, I think the more we encourage that, it's ecological, it fits the master plan, it fits so many angles.
It's fun, we could do the Boston, ride a bike, pick up a new bike at a different location.
Yeah, right. Spray paint a bunch of previously borrowed bikes, bright orange.
So do we need a motion to?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think we'd have to
buy
say up
two?
to $1,000 because the shipping is probably somewhere in there, so we could say
Yeah.
something like that.
I'll make a motion. We
Thank you.
Purchase, do we want to say purchase up to $1,000 or purchase 2 bike
Probably have to
racks?
say 2 because we can't, we
Yeah.
can't buy
So
one and a half.
let's buy 2 bike racks.
Yeah. Yeah, I think, second to the motion. Thank you, George. And discussion about it. So we're going to get 2. One's going to go at Sliding Rock. One is sitting in storage,
we'll see.
because that's how we're going to save shipping cost, actually. And it'll either get planted at Heron Point or a second location.
Yeah, Wigan Farm's a nice spot because we have it. Wigan Farm, if you've been out there off of Grant Road, the 2 acres, there's 2 acres that are not in the L-chip fishing game easement. They were purposely kept out for the parking area. The town does a nice job of mowing that area for us, but there's a spot to the right where it's sort of mossy, and so the grass doesn't grow a lot, so you could actually put a bike back there. And again, it's another place where
That's
it's a
actually good,
nice
because you
trail.
park your bike and then you go off for
Yeah.
a long time.
Yeah, there's not a lot of trail there, so I don't know how many people would use it. So I think we need to do maybe a little bit of,
Do some recon.
maybe some survey or something. just
To be
ask people.
determined.
Drop some bikes places and see how long they sit there.
Yeah. I do think if we did like, picnic tables in combination, so people could ride their bike and have a nice picnic, like the picnic table there. We could do that at maybe some of these other places. Heron Point already has a place we could have a picnic. Sliding Rock, there's no picnic table at Sliding Rock. But, some more things we could think about, like
Yeah.
entice people to get to a spot and have a nice picnic and then bike off somewhere else.
I suppose the nice thing too, about these bike racks is that they are kind of mobile, right? They're not being.
Right, you could always
Right,
move them.
so-
Yeah,
so
yeah.
you could always move
Yep,
them.
absolutely. It's true.
Wigan's even a good one.
Yeah.
I mean, not Wigan, Piscassic,
Yeah, that one just, we're a little tight on the space. We'd have to probably go into maybe in the field a little bit and have it mowed or something, just a little bit, but hope to do that.
that's one where you'd put a bike and then you'd go on that big, huge
Yeah, that's a
loop
nice,
and look at the
'cause
big
that's a nice,
boulders.
yeah. Or we could partner with Audubon because they have a bigger they have a bigger spot. And they have a picnic table there.
All right.
Okay, good. All
So
right.
voting, we had made a motion, seconded it, discussed it. All in favor of the $1,000 for the bike racks?
Or buying 2 bike racks, it might be more than 1,000, so,
Oh,
yes.
2 bike racks.
Yes.
Thank you, George.
Aye.
Yep, that's unanimous. All right, pump up those tires. And that brings us to Turtle Fest. So, and this might be one of the final times we talk about Turtle Fest 25, because we're soon to turn the page for whatever is going to be next Fest, 26, right? So this Turtle Fest I had written down because of letting y'all know we did buy the 2 pair of binoculars, so I hope you saw that in the e-news. 2 pair of nice Vortex binoculars are at the library for people to check out, along with the telescope. Yeah, isn't that fun? But this Turtle Fest note was because we wanted to talk about, why did I write down Turtle Fest?
Well, I updated what we've.
Oh, yeah, the final financials for it, that's right. And the final T-shirts and whatnot for it. You want to talk about that? Go ahead and
Sure,
give that
yeah,
report.
So we had approved at our last meeting, we had quite a bit of balance from our fundraising for Turtle Fest, from the T-shirts and from the business donations. So we gave $658 to New Hampshire Turtle Rescue, which combined with what the Stone Church raised, they got $2,000 from Turtle Fest, so that's pretty cool. We gave $275 to CELT for the Atlas Camp Scholarship for a Newmarket child.
For a Newmarket what?
Child to go to a summer camp, day camp
Great.
with CELT. Chris bought 2 pairs of binoculars very nice Vortex binoculars for the library for $506. And the library does an awesome job with this. You can sign them out. They have a telescope you can sign out. So, and they got materials to go with the binoculars and these other nature kits. So very cool. Yeah, our library is great. Great idea, Chris. And we approved buying more turtle signs. So we bought 2 turtle crossing signs for Lady Slipper Drive, and DPW put those up as soon as we got them. And then I think they added another one on Ash Swamp. They mixed and matched the cute turtle, the baby turtle and the adult turtle with the plain turtle sign, but that's, I guess people like the cute turtle sign with the baby turtle, even though it's not ecologically correct. It's okay.
It's Yertle the turtle, okay?
Yeah. So that's cool. So those are up. And I think you heard from the landowner, they were very happy to see that on Lady Slipper Drive.
Oh, yeah. That'll be the next column with Tim Crimmins. It's going to be you asked for it, we did it, so.
And we bought had more T-shirts printed for $187. And we haven't gotten any updates on income coming back. I assume there's been some.
I haven't
sales.
asked, but I know that
Have we
maybe
gotten
6
any,
or 7 of them went
Have
out.
you gotten any T-shirt sales? No.
So do we know how many we've sold total-ish?
Well, there were only like about 10 left, weren't they, from the first printing?
Yeah.
I forget the total number.
It was like 14, but yeah.
Yeah, so 10 to 15
And the
left.
second printing was 24, and of those, I know 6 got sold, maybe 8, so there's a couple on deck still.
That was awesome.
Yeah, oh, maybe I haven't
For
given
the
credit for
day
those yet.
and everything, but to really sell all those was great.
I
So
think I
why
owe
didn't we
$40.
print more?
Because several people said they wanted, their relatives saw them and they wanted them as gifts.
Great.
And several people wanted wanted 3 that were in sizes that we hadn't ordered so many of.
Yeah.
It was like the crystal ball was just foggy, so we just didn't have enough of that size.
Yeah.
And then once we were ordering like, oh, Jake wants this and he wants that and Shirley wants 4, it just seemed like, okay, let's just get 24 and then we can see what tomorrow brings. So I can ask at the library and we can have that information for
Yeah,
August.
there might be some sales. So anyway, so after all of that, we still have $778 balance from our proceeds that we raised.
Oh,
Success.
Amazing.
All that we did, yeah.
Yeah,
And that-
made money,
Yes, made money, gave money away, bought stuff.
educated everyone.
We're quite benevolent here. The $700-something we're going to save and roll over to be our startup cost for next year. So John Herman has agreed to do a T-shirt again for us, which brings us to this topic. We said, all in the joy of the moment, like, oh, we need Turtle Fest next year too, Turtle Fest 2.0. But it's really tough to build on it like that. Like, we're not the Galapagos with more data about the 300-year tortoise and whatnot, right? And not to belittle the turtle thing at all, but the big feature of it was Lindsay talking about the project on Ash Swamp, because so many people had asked about the striping and whatnot. So in talking about it and thinking a little bit about it, we keep the fest thing, and just right now, with no background, if we just refer to it right now as Next Fest. So we're going to have it the same day, same time, same format, walk this, do that, presentation that, presenters this, kids library activity, blah, 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 coffee talk, meet people. What could be the focus of the next thing? As we had this nature fest that we focused on turtles, the next thing for next year could be some other aspect of what we can offer here in Newmarket. We have Waterfest, we have Bird Fest, we have Insect Fest or Bug Fest, whatever you want to call it, just Next Fest. Think about it, because we really should start booking speakers in September or October. These people are in demand. We should start saying to the high school, we want the space. We should start saying to the library, gather up materials now if you're going to do recycled materials for crafts. So it takes a lot. We pulled it off and put it really well together this time, but we can also have a little more breather space and have more people, such as the new members, involved in ways that you think you could contribute or what you would like to see happen at Next Fest. I have a personal idea of what I would like to see the featured aspect of the Nature Fest be, so I don't want to say it out loud, but if you just think real quick and just super spontaneously and no wrong answer, and if we start at Emma, what kind of a thing can you think, and you can say pass, do you have an aspect you could imagine could be a cool feature like the turtles were?
on one spot.
I would say something about waterways or something like that. I think that a lot of people, especially my age, aren't really so much concerned with it and not really aware of how it affects us, and like especially with wetlands and everything like that around our area. And because it's such a big part of Newmarket's ecosystem and everything like that, I think that something about the wetlands or like the Lamp River or something like that would be really cool, because it's something that we see every day, but it's not something that we necessarily think about, if that makes sense. But something along those lines, I think would be cool.
Elizabeth,
Oh,
cold turkey.
All right, so I'm thinking about birds or raptor fest, something that could be
Okay.
fun, exciting, owls, and I know there are local associations that like the turtle people rescue. It's very dynamic, and then we could talk about some of the things we were talking about before, about lessened use of poisons, etc.
I was just going to say rodenticides
Yeah,
is
so,
huge.
so that could be a real teaching moment.
Raptor Fest, I'll write down Raptor Fest, I'll also write down Bird Fest, because that's got a slightly different spin, but
Yeah.
related. And great graphics possible for both those. What do you think?
Yeah, I was thinking the property that we're gonna take control of or support taking control of. There's gotta be something wildlife there that we could kind of pitch the wildlife aspect, but also tie in the conservation aspect of the property that could really play well, I think.
Okay?
Depending on the species that we can find there. Could be turtles.
Thank you. Opossums eating ticks.
Yeah.
George?
Yeah, my mind immediately went bird as well, as the ones that are affected. It's great that with blue heron.
Yeah, it's right here. That's a good one.
So, and then I also was thinking Great Bay, and I thought oysters, but I also don't want to start squashing on, the flagship event over at the Stone Church with oysters. But the oysters in the Great Bay, and I know the Nature Conservancy does quite a bit around stewardship around, those animals. So.
Birds of the Bay, oyster. Thank you. Zach?
I have a lot of thoughts on this. I think one thing we should consider is just putting on my marketing, branding hat.
Yeah, do it.
I think we've built some momentum with Turtle Fest, and I think turtles are just relatable, fun animal that kids really like, and it's something that we've built, just some communications around already. So I think we should think about do we want to keep that and build on it. I do see what you're saying about I think it's cool to maybe switch the focus, and I guess I'm wondering is could it stay Turtle Fest? And we always talk about turtles, but we're also bringing in other things, because everything in nature is connected, and we could probably draw some connection with water, with birds, with whatever. That's just one bigger picture thought. I like Oyster Fest just because I wonder if there's I just think in terms of drawing people, if there's a food connection, you're really going to draw people, and I think if you get them there, if we could partner with Stone Church maybe in some way, get them there for food, but then while we have them, educate them on oysters and Great Bay. I think that's could be a good strategy in terms of engaging people. And then finally, I'm just thinking about the big night stuff and some kind of focus, just the timing we would have to think about, a focus on Frog Fest. I just alliteration. Yeah, but I think something frog, turtle, things that are really relatable, and I think we got a lot of people because we had kids activities and parents and whatnot. So that's something to think about. But yeah, Frog Fest or something, salamanders, something having to do with big night, and maybe raising awareness around that. But again, I think that could either be looped into Turtle Fest if we keep the name that, or final idea, do we just call it Nature Fest in an ongoing way and start building from there, and then everything can just fall into that. But I do think there's that's back to just my point. I think there's some value in sticking with the name and building on it.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Ellen?
Oh, those are all such cool ideas. We could do this forever.
We
This
got
is
a
great.
decade, I'll
I
figure it
know.
out.
I'm just going to throw out another, Chris and I talked about this a little bit, but insects. And, because they're declining and they're the food they're the base of the food chain and everybody else, what you suggested. So I think it'd be, insects can be pretty cool. Some people don't like insects, but they're kind of key. And, fireflies, we did the bookmark about fireflies, so I thought there'd be something cool about that. So, and some of these could be like field trips or other focal points that we talk about as part of this, but I like all the ideas. So great.
And these are great ideas, and I would say Bug Fest. I know it's tricky because some insects are bugs, not all bugs are spiders, and some spiders are arachnids. But if you had the overarching idea of bugs, I think then we can really get into some good educational points, like if you get rid of your mosquitoes because you fogged up your lawn, you just got rid of your bat population. Those kind of things could be very heavy duty for educational purposes. Any one of these things could have some good educational purposes. So it's.
If we could just, I wanted to add this before we
Yeah.
forgot, or I forgot. The gondola that has come into town, putting people on that boat, I don't know if anybody's been on the boat, but going out to an oyster bed somewhere close by would be amazing. I think it'd be a real hit with people to have that opportunity to get on the bay, get out to an oyster bed, and such a classic boat. That could be really interesting.
It sure could. True confession, I don't eat oysters. Isn't there certain times you mustn't eat them? This thing is in May, and we're not changing the date.
Well, the old schooling comes from European ideas about warm water and safety, but you only eat oysters in the month as an R.
Okay.
It's just a preliminary way of protecting against red tides, etc. But in reality, people are very funny because most of the shellfish consumption is during the summer around here. But that's, you should eat them in December happily. You're right.
I was just going to say, we partnered one year, remember we had a
We
table
did,
with the
yeah.
Oyster Fest at the Stone Church, but I was just thinking, because isn't that in the fall?
No, it was a hot enough day that the candy we brought was melted in the basket.
But what I was thinking is that maybe that's a separate thing we try to partner with in terms of Oyster Fest. I love the idea of that gondola with taking it. Maybe that's something we could bring to Oyster Fest at the Stone Church does.
Yeah, that's
separate from our Frog Fest.
Well, but
I'll ask at the Stone Church if they're planning on doing it again, and I
Yeah.
can reach out to the oyster people and see. If Stone
Yeah.
Church isn't, how could we have somebody else is the driver, but we
Right.
could be the boat getter and the
Yeah, we-
this and that, or.
But I'm still part of the local oyster conservationists on the water, and that's Nature Conservancy does that.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
they have in the past worked with Newmarket at various festivals, etc. But they I'm sure would partner with that project.
Right.
Yeah.
So that's a great opportunity for them too, because I know they're so desperate to find landowners who are having bay adjacent property is reading land over. So.
Well, it's really not utilitarian in terms of increasing numbers of oysters. They really use it as an educational outreach. But they would love, I think, more opportunity to connect with more people.
So we did that one year.
Yeah.
At the same year, that's why we kind of partnered with the Oyster Fest. And we didn't get a lot of people, the public, but again, it was at Shandanda Park, and there's just, again, so much still uncertain about Shandanda Park. And also, volunteers were supposed to come help take it out, but it was right next to the outlet of Moonlight Brook, and we sort of said, that may not be, the point of oysters is to clean the water, but it may not be good to have it where the people are right where the water is slightly contaminated. So and the person we worked with, she left the Nature Conservancy. So we did try to do it, but I think visiting a private landowner would be really helpful.
Yeah.
Part of the discussion with the gondola and all the different, kind of building off of Zach's Nature Fest ideas, why not focus more on the ecosystem we have here and call it Bay Fest or something, so we focus on different
instead of
traps or
Bay
different animals.
The Big Bad Bay Fest.
I think that's fun. I like that
external
idea.
draw too,
I like that idea.
Because then you get the communities surrounding the bay as well. Maybe I'm just thinking after our Great Bay 2030 conversation.
No, because Emma put out the idea of the water
Right,
anyway.
it kind of touches everything that we've been talking
Yeah,
about.
kind of back to like what they were saying too, like the 7 rivers, we could
go off of that and kind of do something like that. Collaborate with them if we wanted to or something like that and make it a whole great day.
Yeah. Draw from like animal piers on the other side of the bay too, just push them moving. Yeah.
The incoming stripers coming all the way up to the dam.
But
Oh, my gosh.
we're not deciding tonight, are we?
No,
No.
no. Mull it over, though. I mean, this is really good background, so mull it over, because I would like to have us, maybe as part of the, well, that'd be a meeting. I don't know about August. Certainly in September, we should nail this so that we can really start. John Herman needs time to come up with the artwork. He's already agreed he's going to do a new thing for us, but he would like to know so that he can do it in spare time or over he's a school teacher, high school teacher, so he can do it during his vacation breaks and whatnot. So mull it over. I can jot down all these ideas and get them back to you in an email so that you can remember all the things that we're mulling, but I think all these things offer us the education and outreach piece, which we have to get back to. Although it is interesting to think that New Hampshire's conservation commissions were formed with the protection of water and clean water and safe water is one of the key fundamentals of it. As much as I like Bugfest, because people go, eh, but you can teach them about why the bug doesn't like you. You're fine. You're not nectar. You're not whatever. So, good stuff. Very good stuff. All right. Financial summary, which includes LCHIP contract, Ellen?
CELT contract.
CELT contract,
Yeah,
yep,
that's
sorry.
right. Yeah, I'll try to go fast because I know we got other stuff here on the agenda. So I'm just going to give you the balance of the conservation fund, which is $134,041.72. And the Richard Shanda fund is $4,621.11. So that's a fund that's supposed to go toward Shanda Park, which we haven't expended because we're sort of waiting for things to happen there. So the total is $138,662.83. We went over most of the expenditures that were last month. Just as a reminder again that we have committed $13,000 to the Mitchell Land Acquisition Project. We've approved $5,000 toward the Ashwamp Road project as seed money. We've, as mentioned earlier, $15,480 for the Rosa project. So that's that's like almost $30,000, so take that off. So we're about at $100,000 for our conservation fund. And then this annual contract with CELT is renewed this month, and then Steve signs it. So we increased it a little bit because they now do Hilton conservation easement that we hold. They do the Nostrum Farm, and they do Piscassic River Loisel. We own Piscassic River Loisel, but we have an LCHIP easement, and so we're supposed to monitor it, but it's not great to monitor your own land, and so we hired CELT to do that, and so the contract is for up to $1,200 if we could approve that, and we do take that money out of the general fund allocation, not the conservation fund. So I need a motion to approve that.
I'm sorry, can you, I'm a little confused about
right.
what you just asked for.
So, you don't have the general fund, for some reason I didn't include the general fund budget. So we contract with the Southeast Land Trust once a year to have them monitor 3 easements for us.
Okay, monitor, okay.
Yeah, monitor conservation easements, so that's what the contract is for, up to $1,200.
Thank you.
And we need a motion to
Approve that from the general fund.
Yeah, I'll
Yes.
make a motion to approve payment to CELT for monitoring the easement.
Thank you. Second? Thank you, George. All in favor?
Aye,
Should have had discussion. Okay, all in favor.
thank you.
Yep,
That's it.
that's it. All right, now we get to committee and board reports. I will also say that we would be looking for somebody that might want to be the conservation rep to energy and environment, if that might appeal to anybody here. Town Council, Brian Ward is not here. He's under the weather tonight, so we don't have anything from him. Planning Board, Planning Department, Jeff is not here, so we don't have something from him. Energy and Environment, vacant, so if that was interesting to anybody, we can talk to you about that at a different time to see if you'd like to be the liaison to that. Riverfront Advisory Committee is Sam. He hasn't offered anything to me or to you, right, Dylan?
Nope.
Okay. School Liaison, you're saving the day and waving the banner for committee and board reports. Thank you.
I hate to break it to you, but I don't have much. I mean, it is the middle of
It's
summer.
summertime.
There's not much to report there. For our environmental group at school, we're kind of just Fall is one of the busiest times for us, so we're planning a bunch of roadside cleanups around the town and stuff like that. We're also working on refurbishing our rain barrel that we have by the front entrance, and then prepping our gardens that are out in the front for winter and then into spring for what we have planned for those, but not much else to report.
You're an officer
Yes.
this coming year.
Yes.
All right. Thank you for doing that at the school.
Update, at the planning board meeting on Tuesday, at the workshop, they did review the riverfront chapter. And I wasn't there for that discussion, but I was there for the regular meeting. Before I said it was pretty good. I think there was like 6 or 7 people that were in the audience and spoke about the chapter. So that was constructive, and I think that's moving ahead. And then at the regular meeting, there was a design review for 200 New Road, which is possibly going to be impact the wetlands and buffers. So there's that update, but they're still in the pretty early stages, so at least it's like 2 months out, but it's probably going to be a little bit longer is our guess, but yeah.
Thank you, Bridget. Sorry, I should have looked to you to see if you had something when it was that item. Any old business people wanted to bring up? All right, go for it, yeah.
Like, I guess not old, but something that came up recently, is this the time to raise?
Oldish, newish.
Yeah, cool. So I live on the Lamprey River and it's like a condo association there, and was just asked today by some of like my neighbors a question. So like 2 days ago, or maybe it was, I think Sunday, this past weekend, there was like kind of a oily white film that came down the river and kind of like covered the whole thing. And it was
Film, not bubbles.
Film, yeah.
Okay.
And it kind of looked like an oil slick, but it was white. And it, like I had never seen it in my time there, and a lot of neighbors hadn't either. And they just raised the question, like, who in town could we call or like let know or ask questions about this? And I didn't know what the answer was that to me, so I just wanted to ask for the view.
Probably Lindsay or Greg.
I would say Lindsay,
Yeah,
who was here tonight, the town engineer, or Greg, right there at the water treatment plant. Those would be my initial guesses. I guess on the one hand, there's Board of Health.
Yeah, I think it's happened before, and it could be storm-related water, it could be a natural phenomenon. So.
Yeah, sometimes these things look catastrophic, and in fact, they're predictable, or... No, it was good you brought that up, thank you. So Sean, Greg, at the water treatment plant. That's who you meant, right? That's who I meant.
Yeah, Sean, yeah.
Sean.
Sorry, Sean, I said Greg.
Okay.
Last name.
Okay, awesome.
Yeah, I've been on the water all spring. My wife is a long-distance swimmer, so she goes from Shopmire all the way up to the Trestle Bridge. And there's always something film coating the top of the water. And I'm on a paddleboard, so I'm not drinking or breathing it in. But she's a research scientist at UNH, and she seems very comfortable with it. So it's not to say that there aren't some films that shouldn't be there, but a lot of it is just natural.
Okay, that was oldish, newish. Quick new, is there any new business? Looking forward.
There's the new business. The
New business. Oh, good gravy.
Yeah, we're happy to speak.
Go for it.
Thank you.
Oh, I'm sorry you weren't public input, but new business is even better. Let's hear it.
Director Eric Wayne with Development Engineering. Here for 21 Lee Point Drive, tax map 2, map 3. With me today, Alicia. We're here for 2 reasons. We have a wetlands permit that has been filed, and we're here to get your guidance based on the Board of Adjustment for a special exception next week. And it's a very minor project. They're doing a modest expansion to their home, and all the work will be be occurring between the 50-foot primary wetland setback and 100-foot setback from the Napier River. As such, the application requires that permits from the state and NESCO. And so we're looking for your support tonight for both projects. Their home was constructed on the lot was constructed around 1983. The original septic system for the parcel was in 1988. So I'm suspecting that the house was originally constructed as maybe a replacement septic system was installed in 2020. We completed a detailed existing condition survey of the site. They did that for us and that's all on that direct. Are you guys familiar with the parcel? Do you want me to go through that?
I'm familiar because I live down the road from you on Smith
There's your
Garrison.
neighbor. So it's on the corner. I didn't bring an easel. So Moody Point Drive, it has a short amount of frontage on the street. This is the Lamprey, and Lamprey actually swings around and goes. They have an existing dock, and their house is, a lot of it is in the 50-foot primary setback. But what we're proposing to do is work all within existing disturbed areas. And so, the second sheet, 1 of 1, NHDS wetlands permit application, might be further down in the plan set, is the blow up, and this shows where we're proposing the addition. What we're doing is doing a small building addition for an entryway to improve the access from the yard into the home, and also a side covered area to get into the garage. All the work is, like I said, between 50 and 100 feet. It's all in disturbed areas. The area along the waterfront is in the 100-year flood zone, but the building is all within zone X. So we're not in any flood zone area. It's a very de minimis project. There'll be no increase in runoff because we're actually reducing the amount of impervious on site. The expansion is 235 square feet entry, and then the 10 square foot covering area. And then the new walkways will be built from permeable materials. And with your support, and if you have any questions.
Hi, you know me, but I'm Elizabeth Dudley, as I mentioned before. Alden. So I just think it's a good idea to have the detail, to choose which one you're in favor ahead of time and have the detail, because that people are always interested in actually having those constructed correctly so that the water does return to the water table, and I can see a detail in the packaging because you haven't selected which pavers you're going to use yet, but I would suggest having that decided and profile of what that's going to look like, with a commitment to vacuum that every so often. That's just my.
Yes, and I agree with that. We will make sure that the pavers are selected by the proper pavers.
Commitment. I'm sorry.
I just thought it was raining hard outside. Good points, Elizabeth. Thank you. With your background, that's important to bring that up. Thank you. Other comments or questions on this project?
We would be looking to sign off on the wetlands application. When it comes to the US finance, we're also looking for you to provide some sort of
We've done that type of thing before, correct, Ellen?
Yeah, sometimes we have a little more time, so there's a site visit, but
Yeah, I was worried about that too. When's ZBA? Monday.
you said existing footprint, no new impervious or less impervious?
We're reducing
Impervious.
It's all right against the house, it's all disturbed, we're not taking down any trees. It's simply cleaning the project.
Would it be sufficient that we let Bart know through the meeting notes that we discussed this and heard about it? And had no
That would be
reservations or
fine.
concerns?
Yeah, as long as it gets conveyed to him that he support.
I think it's safer to say we had no reservations or concerns.
Yeah, without having sort of gone out to see it, it's kind of hard to,
Yeah.
but that's fine. You have the most knowledge locally there. I know your neighbor, so that makes it hard.
Well, I'm down maybe 15 houses on that side, but it seems as if they're not materially increasing any runoff to the water.
Yeah.
They're just rearranging an existing, they're not changing any of the slope or anything. They're adding more permeability to the project. Seems reasonable to me.
Yeah, I mean, I think you could put those statements in your letter to Bart.
Yeah. All right. Any other questions, any other comments for this interest or concern or support? All right. Thank you.
Thank you.
Sorry for keeping you for so long.
Yeah.
Yeah. I would have changed the agenda and had them, all right, anyway. Thank you very much. Wishing you many happy years in your new home.
Well, here, well, I just
All
wanted
the best laid plans. so-
Just as a new neighbor, I wanted to welcome you to the neighborhood, and here's my contact info. Okay. Oh, okay, well, I haven't met you. Okay, all right. I walk around with my dog, my Sheltie, so come say hi. All right. Good night.
Good night.
All right. So our August meeting will be, in fact, at 4:30 on our regularly scheduled date, right, second Thursday, and we'll meet there at the Rosa property. So it should be quick, easy, down and dirty, and be done in time to be done and go about the rest of your day. September, we return to our regularly scheduled programming, and I just quickly wanted to say, check the library website. They're doing fantastic publicity for our Conservation Connections Book Club. And for George and Elizabeth, you're new, and it's new to us. I've copied from the way this town council closes out their meetings with going around the table and saying, if you had a closing remark. By that, I mean, did you do something interesting? Did you see something, read something, hear something, go somewhere? Or do you have something that you wanted to add from your own daily life relevant to being in the Conservation Commission? So in the interest of time, we could blast through, and if somebody had something like that, it'd be fun to hear. Otherwise, I think we should wait and do it in a more formal way next time with more people here. Not to say that your things aren't important, but been somewhere, seen something. I know Ellen, I'd like to say on her behalf, we need to thank her because she spent time today working on the updated information for our notebooks and making notebooks for the new members and having an extra notebook for any new members that are going to be coming on board too. And it's not insignificant, and it's also something that was quite firmly recommended in the handbook from the New Hampshire Municipal Association and the New Hampshire Association of Conservation Districts. So we're in good stead with notebooks coming also from her ideas and from this suggestion.
Can I say one other thing about the September meeting? So we we do have other conservation easements that we monitor, and we talk about those in September, and if folks are interested, I'll do a little blurb about that at our September meeting, so people can join in and help out with those if they're interested.
And in the notebook, there's a guide from
How to-
Cooperative Extension about easement monitoring. So let's make sure
You don't have to
we,
monitor in September, but we need to do it sometime in the fall, so September. And the nice thing about doing it in September, sometimes people wait, but October's hunting season, November's hunting season, and particularly November, it gets a little, it's nice when the leaves drop, but then you run into hunting season and it just gets a little dicier, so. And if you're interested, I do a lot of them.
They're great.
Actually,
They're fun to do, too.
Yeah, Dylan's done some,
so that'll be a
Julie's done
September.
some.
Note to
Yeah.
self, Bridget, that'll be a September agenda item, is Ellen presenting on easement monitoring. Thank you for that, Ellen. Zach, any closing comment?
I saw a quote recently, but I can't find it now, so I'll have to bring it to the next time.
Okay, good. Good. George?
I'll refrain till next time, but happy to be here, and thanks for the warm welcome.
Thanks, good. And one sentence about your background.
Yeah, currently project manager and sustainability group at Unitil, one of New Hampshire's regional utilities. Working on a lot of nature-based solutions and another greenhouse gas and carbon and all climate-related fun. So happy to bring that experience here.
Oh, yeah, we need it. Thank you. Thanks for that work, too. Emma? Oh, yeah, it's summer. You don't do anything.
I've been learning a lot about rain barrels and
Oh, good.
how those work. Still kind of in the beginning of my research because we're trying to figure that out for the beginning of the school year, but I'm just learning more about that. It's very interesting.
In between your 3 part-time summer jobs.
Right, yes.
Nice. Well, bring us information about rain barrels when
Okay,
you can
I
in
will.
September, yeah.
I
Elizabeth?
don't know, yeah, I don't know if the community garden still has rain barrels in place. Have you been
I'll have
there?
to check. I'll definitely check on that. I'm
Because
not
that's very
up to date on it.
I'm sure they'd love to have you visit out
Yeah,
there.
definitely.
I'm very excited to be back here in the
Back in the
conservation
saddle here,
program,
yeah.
and so thank you for letting me jump in. I'm afraid that's my temperament.
No, we like that. We need that.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah, it's great to have you be part of it.
Heron Point. I have some concerns about the boardwalk over there, beginning to rot a little bit. So at some point, maybe Ellen, you and I can go out and take a walk on it and see what we think we may want to replace before it gets too damaged. But the trails look great. It's an awesome spot. If anybody hasn't been out there, it's a really nice walk. So I just think we want to kind of stay on top of some of the maintenance out there. And I'll continue to do the leaf clearing and stuff like
nice.
that in the fall. But before that comes, I think we may want to take a look at it and maybe get some estimates on what it would take to repair some of the damage.
Yeah, depending on the, I don't know if there's a minimum, but we can apply to the Great Bay Stewardship. That's what we help fund our boardwalk at Wigan. So
Yep.
if it's like $1,000 or $1,500 or whatever it costs, we could apply to that to help
Yeah.
that for them.
Oh, good to know.
Awesome.
I guess I want to use my 30 seconds to say, can I go to George and Colin into finishing, not George, Zach, and Colin into finishing this quick little thing as you fold up your notebooks? If you didn't hand it in yet, can you just blast through it and hand it to me?
I think I checked almost all of them.
Nice. Well, I think it was a constructive evening. Do we have a motion to close, however? Motion to adjourn?
Motion to adjourn.
Thank you. And a second? Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Nice. So thanks for the voting on the budget and voting to change that the way we did. And see you in August at the site review walk.
Awesome.
Yeah.